Hey, thanks for tuning in. We got a great show for you tonight. We got John Pennisi on. You all know who John is. He's a former Lucchese soldier. And he has a show with Tom, NBA and the Buttonman, and he has sit-down news. And John's a good friend of mine, and we're really excited to have him on today. So hopefully we'll have a nice discussion with John. But we're going to come back to John in a minute. We're just coming back from COVID. Nicole and I, praise God.
Yes.
And Paulie's feeling good, right, Paulie?
Yep, I'm feeling fine.
Paulie's doing good. But before we start anything tonight, I wanted to talk to you about a few things. We have some products up on the website on BobbyLuisi.com. T-shirts, cups, hoodies, baseball caps, masks, a few different things, Also, what I'm doing right now is I started a membership page on YouTube. It's only $4.99 a month. And why we're doing this is because it's very expensive for this production. We're not really looking to make money, but we'd like for it to pay for itself, wouldn't we? I think that would help, And any way you could support the show, it would be great if you went up there and maybe get some products or maybe join the membership. Right now we have Larry Mazda show up there and full episode. And John's full episode will be up there tonight. And hopefully you'll start going up there and maybe seeing, we're going to put our little bloopers or whatever we do, and we're going to, our raw footage, we'll have that up there too. So it might be nice if you want to join and become a member. Also, I got some knives that I signed, and we're selling them on eBay. It's, what is it, Nicole?
Bobby Luisi, autographed knives.
Autographed knives. You go up to eBay and you can get your autographed knives if you want. You all know I love to cook, and these are nice
we
knives
love
to
your
cook.
cooking.
Yeah, I know. I cook for them all the time. And like I promised before, we'll do a few segments with the cooking now. All right, listen, I want to again introduce Nicole to you. She's our production coordinator for the show. She takes care of everything. She schedules everything. She takes care of whatever we're doing, advertisement or whatever. So she's really working hard for us. So Cole, why don't you tell them a little about yourself?
So I've actually been in production and film for the last 8 years, and do sports television, movies, commercials, and also love to get involved with any product I'm passionate about and feel like it's going to be, really successful. And this is one of those projects, and I'm honored to be asked and be here with Bobby and Paulie. And I hope you guys tune in because we have so much great stuff coming out for this spring. I know you'll enjoy it.
And we're lucky to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're lucky to have Nicole.
Thank you.
Nicole's an asset, We can't do everything. I'm just a face, right?
Whatever you want to tell them.
All right, well, whatever.
Let them make their own opinion.
Yeah, it's not going to be good. But anyway, all right, stay tuned. We're coming right back with John. Thank you, guys. We'll be right back. All right?
Yep, we're all set.
I'm sorry, Nicole. Don't look at me like that. All right, we're ready?
No, we're not ready. Your water bottle's sitting right there.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
Okay.
She nitpicks me all the time, so
Turned, so.
I got no shot with this girl.
I
All
think
right.
your back should be as turned as it is. I think you should push back a little bit.
I want them to see the side of me.
I know, and right
'Cause
now,
you know,
we're not
every
seeing
side
the
looks
side,
good.
we're seeing the
Every
back.
second.
But I want to look at the screen.
All right, so make sure you keep looking.
Yeah, I'm
the
gonna
right
look at the
side.
screen. When I look over at him, that means I'll put him up alone up there. I'm not gonna be 100, the whole thing. I'll just cut it up and edit it,
No comment on that. Okay. That's
This
it. Alright,
ain't gonna fuck
ahead,
us
guys.
up.
Go ahead.
All right, ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, John, it's great to have you on the show today. You know, I was telling, me and Paulie were talking about your show, but you know, when we did it the other time, I mean, that was really nice. I mean, I love your show.
Yeah, we had a
Sit
good
down,
time.
yeah, we did. We had a great time, you know, and I want to, ask, you know, Paulie wants to come back on your show, and I'm dying to come back.
Anytime,
Yeah,
anytime,
I'm dying to come back on. Um,
anytime.
you know, I got to talk to you like it's just an interview. You understand that, John? So you got to tell us something about yourself.
I'm not as good looking from the side as you is, as you are.
You know they're gonna torture me over that, don't you, John?
Yep. So anyway, I came from I came from I came from Queens, and because I came from a broken home, I lived both in Ozone Park with my father and Howard Beach with my mother. So it's funny because all the social clubs were in Ozone Park, but all the wise guys lived in Howard Beach. So I I lived with them in the same neighborhood, but when I was by my father, all the social clubs were there, and every family had a club almost on every other block, and you know that it's probably was the same way where you came
Same
from.
way in the North End in East Boston where I grew up, John.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah,
Yep.
same
But in that area it was mostly like a heavily influenced with Gambinos in that area because like
Ozone Park.
yeah, like I lived only a couple of blocks from Johnny Gotti's club, and that's where everybody was. And you know, I was a young guy, and like we all were at one time, and I, you know, idolized these guys, and you know, back then they were different. They were all dressed up in suits and pinky rings and nice cars, and it was a little more flashier back then.
Mhm.
You had you had a lot more old timers back then. They kind of carried themselves a lot more with respect and honor. And when you're a young guy, you know, you see them things, and I was kind of looking up to these guys. And yeah, so
Well,
that's
it was the same thing, you know. I was born in the North End in Boston, and
yeah,
my mother or father got divorced. I came from a broken home too. I don't think I was 2 years old when my mother and father got divorced. My mother
yeah,
moved to East Boston, and my mother met Santo, who's a great guy. They've been married over 50 years. You know, I have a brother, Carl, from that marriage. And you know, Santo was a bookmaker, loan shark. He did everything. You know, anything he could do. He was an earner. You know,
yeah,
and in the North End was gangster capital, and there was cruising East Boston too. Don't get me wrong. And you know, I mean, that was the life. They had town cars,
yeah,
Continentals, Cadillacs,
yep,
beautiful suits on every day, $300 shoes back in the 70s.
yeah.
I mean, these
A lot
guys
of
were
money.
classy. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was something to look up to, you know.
Yeah, back then it was you know, when you're young, you have different mentality, and you're easy, it's like an impressionable age. So the things that impress you then obviously won't impress you now, but I was, you know, and at that time, I believe, yeah, so John Gotti was probably a skipper back then,
Yeah.
you know, and he had a whole crew of guys, and you knew who was who in the neighborhood, and it was a big deal because you know back then it was very different than what it is today, and so I think that that's what, and also my father was around, but you know always busy, so you know, and because they all originally came from East New York, Brooklyn, right?
Mhm.
Johnny Gotti, a lot of people, my family, my father's family, and then they all moved, you know, to Ozone Park and different areas, Howard Beach, and you know, so as I said, my father was always busy and doing his thing. And now my mother's a single woman, and she knows, you know, these guys all know each other, and everybody's going out. We had barbecues, and guys are coming over, and you know, and what's the first thing I did? And I go and tell my mother and my godmother, I says, I want a pinky ring. I was a young guy. So
Yeah,
now you start mimicking these guys,
yeah.
and you know how that is. You want to dress like them, and you want to get your hair cut like them, and that's really what happened. I think that happens to a lot of us. I think maybe all of us could say that.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, when I was, I think 15, 16 years old, I went back to the North End. I was around my father, he was with all the wise guys. I was saying it before on other shows. There was a store on Hanover Street, Veraces, Italian shoes. They're $150 a pair. We went and got Verace shoes in all different colors. We had that when I was growing up. We had the Sicily jeans, Clipper jeans. So we would slick up every day and go hang around with them. And we thought it was a big deal. 16 years old.
Yeah.
And
And the other kids, they're not walking around in $150, $200 shoes back then. You know what I mean? So you kind of a step above the rest of the kids. They were lucky to get a nice pair of sneakers, right? Back then.
oh yeah, well it was good. I was Bobby Luisi's son. All the
Yeah,
wise
well,
guys respected me.
Sure.
And I don't know, I felt like I was getting groomed at that time. My father was muscle father, so, he did a lot for these people.
Yep.
Yeah, he was proposing their family, but he never got made. A lot of guys got pinched. They went away in the 80s, his crew, and before he got killed, he was proposed again in the Salemi faction.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just something growing up with these guys. I mean, from 11 years old, I work with the vendor company. And I'm making $50 a week, John.
Yeah.
I mean, it was something. I really loved it.
And when my mother goes to work in a place outside Kennedy Airport, and it was when if you came in on a flight and your luggage was either delayed or even sometimes it was lost and it would come on another flight or they had to find it. The airports would say, all right, either go home or go to your hotel and take your information down. And they had these contracts with this one particular company. Maybe there was another one, but and we would get the luggage and then we would deliver it to either your hotel room or your house. So the whole business was owned by wise guys. Matter of fact, one of the guys that had a piece of it was Louis Dedon. Louis Dedon winds up at some point becoming the acting boss of the Lucchese's. But back then he was a friend. And of course, when we're getting the luggage, everybody's rifling through the stuff and taking out all the valuables.
Yeah.
Because people are sending back jewelry, watches. So before it got to who it had to go to, we brought it back to the office, and they went through the luggage, even if they had to pick the thing open, and they went through the luggage, and they would, even sometimes somebody would send, like from one time from Hawaii, they had the luggage and then it had like 2 cases of pineapples from Hawaii. So one case went south, and we would deliver the other luggage, and only one case. One case got lost. And you know how that goes. And so that's what we were doing. But at 14 is how I meet kind of guys like I just wrote on my blog, this guy Johnny Santori. These were known killers and I mean dangerous guys. And I'm 14 years old going to work, and I'm driving a van for them at this business, and I'm going back and forth in the van, and it wasn't that far. It was like 150th Street, so it's like right outside the airport, and I would go zip into the airport, and I never forget one time I'm in the car, and I had a baby face then, right? And 2 cops.
God bless.
Yeah, thank God. And 2 cops pull up. Now it's a different story. Back then, and they looked at each other, they looked at me, and they shook their head, and I just kept, they must have said, "What is this?" I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
And they didn't even pull me over or nothing. But that's how. So at a young age, I kind of seen, how they were moving around in that life, so to speak. So I not only was seeing them in the neighborhood, now I'm working around them. And hey kid, come in. They're hitting me with, $20, $40, and I'm a young kid. I'm making money, 14 years old, and that you kind of start looking up to these guys, and that's what happened, and you start, you want to now be a wise guy.
Yeah. Well, listen, When I was 13 years old, my father was LaGrange Street up the combat zone was Boston. It was really bad up back then. There was all strip joints, the Naked Eye, Enrico's. There was a ton of strip joints up there. And my father was running Enrico's for the Wise Guys. And I was 13 years old, and I had to take the train to town every day from East Boston, once a week from East Boston.
Mhm.
And I used to go up. They used to give me 25 for my sister. This was the support money back then. 25 for my sister, 25 for me. So I go up there, get $50 a week. And I was telling the story before. I'd sit in the back room with the strippers while they were changing and everything.
Yeah, I love that story.
Gorgeous black women, you know.
Yeah.
But the thing is, all the Wise Guys would come up there dressed to the nine. You know, guys running out, parking their cars. I was around Johnny Ciccardi, Ralphie Chong. These are all big names in Boston,
Yeah.
everything on Bali. You know, it was just something to see all of this happening at 13 years old. You know, knowing it's there, know what my father was doing. I mean, it's impressive because, you know, you go back, the kids in the neighborhood, even in East Boston, knew who my father was and what he was doing and around those guys.
Yeah.
You know, even his boss was at every corner, like you said, was a social club, card games, bookmaking, everything was there. And people walk up and down the street and see 10 bookmakers on the street. You know?
Yeah, but you had it a little different because don't forget you had your father, so you kind of seen that they were maybe treating you a little more respectful, and other people, you know,
Yeah, of course.
kind of was getting a little special treatment, right?
Yeah.
But I really wasn't because you know my father's a legitimate. Although my father, when he was younger, actually stood around the club like that. Johnny got in and had, but you know, then he went to work and all of that, and but I wasn't kind of getting that treatment. I had to kind of earn that. I had to go out. Not that you didn't earn it, but I had to go. And as I got older, you know, you got to kind of get that respect from these guys. But what I did notice is that when we started getting a little older, and my cousin became friendly with John Gotti Jr., and we
Mhm.
started going over there to the club. Then I started noticing like other people kind of would see you and see you around these guys. And then I finally, you know, had that kind of, I was kind of getting that respect that kind of you were, you know, and I didn't earn it. That was just because they seen me kind of associated to these guys. And, you know, of course, and no one's going to ever say that they didn't like that kind of feeling of people giving them a little bit of, you know, more regard for themselves, right? But you had it, you had your father there, so you seen it a little before me at an earlier age. And then, of course, like myself and yourself, you got to earn it yourself as we get older. You know what I mean? We, you know, it doesn't matter who our father is, who our uncle is. Now you gotta, you know, now that you're an individual.
Yeah, now, see, at that point, you got to make your own mark, but I never mind being Bobby Luisi's son. I mean,
No, I mean, that's good.
even up in my 20s, because I told you I went into the construction till I was 30 years old. And if I had a problem, I'd call him up, Dad, Dad, Dad. I had no problem doing that. But when I got home in the 90s, I had to make my own mark and do what I had to do. Growing up, there was a lot of violence in my life. And like I said, I'm not going to say things that I did when I was
Yep.
younger.
Yep.
Violence really got bad when I came back in the 90s. But my father was always on top of me because I was always doing things. He was hearing stories, you know.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it was good to be Bobby Luisi's son. It was good to
Sure.
be
I mean,
Luisi.
listen,
You know?
you had, you know, he had already had a reputation and a name for himself, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And it seemed like I didn't know him, but from what I'm hearing, it seemed like even as I guess as an associate, he was kind of had a lot of they had a lot of high regard and respect for him, from what I'm hearing.
Well, listen, my father, Paulie, how many Wise Guys did he tell to screw? I mean, yeah, no, my father didn't care about not. They like that about him, though. They did to a point. You know, my father, if you had gold teeth in the back of your mouth, he'd find a way to get them out. Listen, he was a good street guy. He was a rotten bastard. And stuff. You know, he was a bodybuilder when he was a kid. My
Yeah,
father.
I think I seen a picture of him, and I
Yeah.
seen a picture.
Oh, he was a big guy.
He's
My
a
father
big
was
guy.
tough guy. His whole life, he was a tough guy. You know. But yeah, like I said, it was good being a son, but that's not good enough when you're out on the street now.
No,
You know, when you're out
up to
there.
a certain point, up to a certain age.
Exactly.
Yes.
Once I came back, you know, I had to put a gun on my back and, you know, it was on.
Yeah.
And until he got killed in the 99, he was on me every day. What are you doing? What happened over here? What's going on? Dad, I don't know what you're talking about. That's what I used to tell him. I don't know that. What do you mean you don't know? You're running with this guy, he's doing this guy's dead. What's happening? I want to know. You don't need to know, I used to tell him. Oh, yeah, he used to want to come at me, my father. He couldn't control me,
Yeah.
and he seen the money that I was making, the things I was doing, the respect I was getting, and everything around me, and he couldn't comprehend it, you know? And it caused problems between me and my father. Because like you said, I think I wasn't even 2 years old. You know, my mother got divorced. They got divorced. My mother remarried. He remarried. He had my two brothers, Roman and Caesar.
Mhm.
Mick, he's been married 4 times, my father. And this kid's all over the place. But anyway, you know, you don't grow up in the house with him. You know, it wasn't like, you know, my brothers grew up in the house with him. You know,
Yeah,
they had him
that's
as a
funny.
father. I didn't, you know.
Yeah, it's my father. My father went and he screwed around on my mother and went and married this other woman, and he had two kids with her, and they actually, I mean, it was good for them. He took them out of the neighborhood. He moved them to Jersey. They went to prestigious colleges and got college degrees. So they had a whole different way of life. And years later, he had made a statement to me. We don't speak, but years later, he had made a statement to me. And I think it was, and you may agree with me, I think it's an unfair statement because he would compare, well, look at your brothers. And and I say, yeah, if I didn't grow up in the neighborhood that I grew up around, the people I did, and I had my mother and father living in the house with me, and I grew up in Pearly White, New Jersey, and I went to a prestigious college, I don't think I would be in the predicaments I am either. But I didn't grow up that way. I grew up totally different. I came from a broken home. I was surrounded by the mob. And not that there wasn't any guys in that neighborhood who became lawyers and doctors and Indian chiefs, but what kind of shot did I have? I didn't have a big shot. You know what I mean? I could have went on straight now, but I didn't. I didn't.
And I had the same thing with my father. You know, you never get that bond if you don't live with them. You know,
Yeah,
I loved him. He was my dad. I guess, you know, you love them automatically. You can't help that. But I never really felt, you know, I was his oldest son, but I never felt the affection from him. You know, these kids, I see my friends used to grow up around their dads and the life they
different.
had with them. I didn't have that. I didn't
No.
have that bonding. And I think that's my problem and your problem because we were out there looking for something. We didn't know what we were looking for because we
Yeah,
didn't get it in the house.
and Bobby, you know what I remember, and this is something that a lot of people that are hearing this are going to understand, because at one time we all played some kind of sports, right?
Yeah.
And I was on a baseball team in Howard Beach, and I never forget it. Now my mother was working. My mother always had to work, and she spoiled me because she felt she was trying to make up, the broken home, and she used to go without to make sure I had the best clothes and whatnot, right? And so I'm on a baseball. I asked her to join a baseball league, right? And I wasn't a great athlete. I happened to get, I guess, lucky one day, and I hit a grand slam, base loaded grand slam, my only one, right?
Nice.
And I'm running around the bases, and I'm not excited about hitting the grand slam. I'm looking for my father's face as I'm running around the bases. And I made it to home, and I never seen his face because he wasn't there. I thought maybe he was, maybe came to the game late, and I was, coming around second, and I'm looking, and I'm coming, and as I went around this whole ballpark, he wasn't there. And kind of that was what my life was like with him. He just wasn't there, but
Well, I got to tell you a story when I was a kid, growing up in the North End before, my mother moved, because we did move back to the North End for a little while. I lived on Prince Street. And I was in some kind of, the kids with school, some kind of play or whatever. And when my father did come in, I didn't even recognize him. My mother had to point them out to me. She says, your
Wow.
dad's here. That's how estranged we were.
yeah, that's
You know, he married his second wife and she didn't want us around. So I used to have to sneak in on that to see him, you know.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
just,
you got all those feelings inside, John. And I think
and
what
you know,
happens with us psychologically,
yeah, it's not good.
it's not good. It hardens our hearts.
Yeah.
And then basically, you don't give a shit about life. When you
And you
don't
know
have
what?
structure, that's what
Yes.
happens.
And you know what happens? And this is like, it's no excuse, but so now here you have these men, right, that we're already looking up to them. And it's well, even if you didn't look at them as father figures, they automatically take the place
Yeah.
of what we were missing, and that, you know, that bond would a man would meant, right? And because we didn't have it, you know what I mean? We didn't have it. And that's kind of, not that there's any excuse, but that's really what happens. That's why these young kids, what do? A lot of them join gangs because they don't have that father figure in the house with them. It's important to have the father in the house.
You know, it's the same thing with us. I know because this goes an Nostra, the mafia, they think it's different, but it's not.
No.
You got these Latin kings, Mexican mafia, you got all these gangs in
Yeah.
California,
Yep.
you got bikie gangs, you got all this going on because they want to feel part of something in life.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, we didn't
Wanna
sign
belong.
up, yeah, to become murderers, to do this, to do that.
No.
You know, it's part of the life,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But that's not what we wanted to do. We wanted to belong to something,
Yeah.
you know, and we thought it was structure. It's a family, you know, it's made as a family, and it's just something that we joined. And, you know, listen, if someone bothered your brother, your sister, your mother,
Yeah.
there's no problem going to get a gun and taking care of it.
Yep.
So why not do it for them?
Yep. And
Well-
it's and if you say the right word, right? So we know we were families, and it's kind of like this became your new family.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know, this became your new family.
Yeah.
That's really what happens. You know, I think it happens to not everybody the same way, but I think that it happened with you. I think it happened with me, and there's a lot of other people that's kind of what happened there.
You know, listen, I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, or any of that bullshit. But, you know, from all my studies and reading and what the wise guys taught me about people and to analyze everything that I do and the people around me, it's just that I see that a lot of people are lacking emotionally. You know, they don't come from solid homes. This is why they're doing all these drugs. These are all the mental problems that they're having. And it all stems from the house. And in cases like me and you, it's the same thing as them. There's no difference, John. You know, we all
It's just
took
different
these paths.
circumstances.
Different circumstances, but actually the same circumstances if you look at it. We come from broken homes.
Yeah, it's all, yeah. It's not good. You know what I mean? It's
No.
not, and you know, now I have that with my kids, and it's just it's not good, you know. And I try to, I'll tell you one thing. I think that this FaceTime is one of the greatest things, because even when I'm not with them, I could at least see them and talk to them, and it's important even to make them see me every day if they could, you know, just so they know that you know, at least they see my face. Like you say, you didn't even at one time, you lost kind of track of what he looked like, your father.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, and plus don't forget, in your case, it's a little different because now your father's a knockaround guy in the street, and he's knocking around in the street, and, you know, they don't come home and they're out all night. And, you know, that's probably, he was doing a lot of that, I guess.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
dad.
The gumas, the money, that's all he cared about.
Yeah.
Strippers, you know, I mean, he was out of his mind. A great guy. He was out of his mind. But thank God, Santo gave me some structure. And, you know, I couldn't play sports after.
And now this becomes your stepfather, right?
Yeah, that's my stepfather, you know, but he's been my father for over 50 years. You know, I mean, I love the
Yeah,
guy.
I mean, yeah.
He's given me everything that I've needed. He never refused me anything. And he taught me a lot about the street growing up too. You know, and yeah, so Santo, but Santo was also a street guy. Barrooms, bookmaking, loan sharking.
Yeah.
You know, he always had social clubs, card games. So he was always involved in the street too. You know, so to me, it was just the norm. Like, you know, all right, we grew up in the neighborhood, John, you know, what are we going to be?
Yeah.
cops, firemen, work construction for the union. You know, we're not all going to become lawyers and doctors. You know, you don't get
No,
too many choices. And, you know, if you're the right guy, the mob's one of the choices. And there's not you can do,
yeah, I mean,
you know.
I just think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that you kind of even choose. I always say that, you know, that life definitely chooses you. There's no, yeah, people could say, well, this is what I want to be, and we could think that in our heads as we're young, but the life definitely chooses you. You know, it's just the circumstances and that life chooses you. If it doesn't, you're not going to be in that life. You know, that's the way I look at it. So the life also chooses you. Your paths are kind of really going into a collision course together. That life and our life together, and that's what happened. And but about this your Santo, he, you know, it it takes a special guy and a man, you know, to take care of somebody's that a kid that's not them, and take them in as their own kid and treat them like their own kid, and bring them up and give them everything. And it says something about the character of somebody that's able to do that. That's you know,
No,
100%.
Santo's an amazing guy. You know, there was me and my sister from the original marriage, you know, and, you know, he treated my sister great. He treated me great. I mean, I didn't actually get along with him. You know, I was always rebellious my whole life. I was
Yeah.
just a little prick, to say it bluntly, you know. And I think it was 11, 12 years old. I used to go back and forth living with my grandmother. But whatever I needed, Santo, Christmas time, we call him Sonny. You know, I call my dad Sonny.
Yeah.
Sonny, load up the tree. Every other night, Chinese food, pizza, whatever.
Yeah.
Here's money to go out. That was my father. That's the guy that grew me up, you know.
Yeah.
And listen, I can never do enough for him.
Yeah, no, I mean,
It's
that's,
still today, John. I take him to doctors. I do everything with him. He wants to go for a haircut. I take him for a hair. I mean, that's my dad, you know.
yeah, I mean, listen, he raised you, you know what I
You
mean?
know, he did. He did.
He raised you.
Yeah, you got to give the guy a lot of credit. He's just an
Yeah.
amazing guy, you know. And he's
No, I do.
a real Sicilian. Let me
Oh,
tell you.
yeah.
Oh, please, forgot about him. You know, he could be a pain in the ass, but I love him. But
Yeah,
he's a
they
Sicilian.
like testing everybody, right? They do these
Oh,
little things, they test.
oh yeah, oh, he'll torture you. Oh yeah.
One time a guy from the other side, I was collecting money from him, right? And I know he did it on purpose. Listen, this guy would count his money. So he put an extra $200.
Yeah.
So I go home and I don't, you know, I don't count in the car. I go home and I put the money, I start counting the money out. I go back to the place. I said, his name is John too. I said, John, you got an extra? No, yeah, keep it. No, keep it. And I says, John, I'm not keeping it. This is your money. I know he did it. He did it. They like want to do these little tests to test you to see if you know, and they like that. The Sicilians, then if they catch you doing something wrong, forget it. You're done.
That's
You know,
it. Yeah, that's how
you're
they
no
are.
good. You're no
And
good
he's
to
like that, you
them. Yeah.
know. I don't trust
Because
him. I don't like that. I see what he did. You know, he was bad like that. You know,
that's how they were from the other side. They were taught like that. You know, they used to do these little things, and that's how he grew up, and now he's like that.
he's a guy. He came from nothing. Uh, I call him Grandpa. His father, Carl, had a menial job, and my father, Sonny, he'd go on the oil truck. He started working. He would work on the street, sell hot stuff, swag, whatever he had to do his book, whatever had to be done, you know. And then he go on the oil truck, and he go to work on the oil truck. And I used to watch this guy, like, you know, it was like a constant hustle. It never stopped, legally and illegally. I mean, he just would constantly go. This guy, always earning. He was a big earner, always earned money, you know. But he liked to gamble and a few other things.
Yeah.
You know, eventually that brings you down. You know.
Yeah.
You know, but he always had property. We always had a house, a roof over our head, and you know, it's amazing. There was a time I got to tell you a story. So I'm growing up in East Boston on Maverick Street, and my mother used to run the dog business for him. So, you know, you're growing up, you want to call your girlfriend. You know how we didn't have cell phones. We got one phone in the house.
On the wall.
That's it. And I used to go to the kitchen, used to get off the phone. I'm waiting for phone calls. My
Yeah.
mom, oh, it used to be so funny, but So this is football, but the dogs was a big thing every friggin' night, 7 days a week. I couldn't use the phone, you know, and I'll never forget all those things. I'll never forget that. My
Yeah.
mother was the bookkeeper. My mother's
Yeah.
like a mathematician. Oh, she took care of all the businesses, took care of
Really?
everything. Oh yeah, my mother was smart. I think that's
Yeah.
where I got my numbers and everything from my mother. You know, I don't know what I got from my father, but it did turn out.
You always get a little something,
Yeah, yeah, no,
right?
I got a
Little
lot from
something.
him. I guess I
Yeah.
got the wrong side. I guess. What are you gonna do? You know.
So then, so moving forward, so now I'm running around in the street, thinking I'm a little wise guy, and I'm running around by the club, and I'm in the neighborhood getting myself in trouble, and carrying pistols and everything else, and I wind up getting into a situation. Another young guy, you know, gets loses his life. There's a little beef in the street. It involved the girl and an ex-boyfriend and all of that.
Yeah.
And I wind up, one mistake, that's all it takes. You're walking around with, that's why they tell you, they shouldn't be carrying guns and all of that. And because most of the time, what are you going to do? You're going to use it.
Yeah, yeah.
And um, I wind up getting a case, had nothing to do with organized crime whatsoever. And but now the wise guys want to, when I get in trouble, I go on the lam, I go on the run. And this one particular guy, Tony Muscatello, gets permission from Johnny Gotti to move me around, and they're moving me around. And and I don't even realize I'm in serious trouble. You know what I mean? Somebody
Mhm.
lost their life, and they're moving me around, and I'm on a limb, and it's that whole thing. And we wind up getting caught, obviously, about 2 months later, and we go in for about 2 months, and then we get out on bail, luckily, and we're out for about a year, almost a year, and we go to trial and blow the trial, but we beat the top two counts,
Mhm.
and I get a manslaughter conviction, and I only get sentenced to, like, it was like 8 years and 4 months to 25 years, but we were under, actually, it was Cuomo's father, Mario Cuomo, and he was very lenient in the prison system, and guys were getting work release, and it was like a quick turnover, and I think he was a Democrat, and now when I go in, that goes out the window because the Republicans come in, they put George Pataki in. I wind up doing double my time. I wind up doing 17 years. I never thought that. I'm thinking I'm only going to do maybe 6, and the last 2 I'm going to go on work release. Out the window. I wind up doing all that time, and I understand people. They'll say, "Well, somebody lost their life, and you worry that you had to do 17 years." Yes, but when you're going through it, you want to come home, and
Yeah, it's
I
tough.
wind up doing that. But it was a lot, and it wasn't just. It's kind of, not that it's easier, but mentally, if you're going in and your number is 17, you know what it is in your head. But when you're thinking it's 8, and then every time you got to go to another parole board, and they say take another 2 and take another 2. It's like getting sentenced all over again, and that's psychologically, and then you just don't care about anything anymore. And but when I'm in there, I'm looked at as associated to the Gambino family. And there was a lot of things that transpired while I was in there that I'm here, you hear everything in the street, right? Everything comes in, people don't realize we knew more in there than what was going on in the street, because
Oh
we were
yeah,
hearing everybody's on a visit, who's calling home. Something happens, guy goes on, gets off the horn, as they say, the phone, and he would come in and say, hey, so-and-so just got pinched, or so-and-so, they just found him in the trunk, or guess what happened over here, or this guy flipped, we're hearing it right off the press, right?
yeah.
And we're hearing a lot of things that are going on, and I'm not so happy about, I did all this time and I'm going to go out to this, and and when I do get out, I go and I go, my grandmother, we lost my grandfather passed away when I first went in. And my grandmother's in Staten Island. And the parole was a little smaller there. So I get transferred in parole to Staten Island. That's not my area.
Right.
And now I'm away from my neighborhood. And guys asked and for me to come around and whatnot. And I stood away. And I actually went and got a job in construction and was on paper for 5 years and kind of was living just a legit life, going to work, minding my business. I had come home, Bobby, and a couple of old timers grabbed me. And let me tell you, I their words now is, you still see me? It says something about my internet. You see me, right?
I see you now. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, good. So I should have listened to them because a couple of old timers told me, hey kid, do yourself, keep working, stay away, because
Yeah.
when you left to go in and now, two different things.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that life then and that life and then this now. And one of them was a friend. And he said, go to work, listen to me.
Yeah.
Go to work. You don't want nothing to do with this, right? And of course you don't listen. So anyway, a friend of mine that I was away with starts calling for me and bringing me back out again. And that's how I get involved again. And we get into a beef and a fight with some Colombo associates, and we get the better of them. And of course, they bring that back, and now they're looking for us because they were pretty lumped up, and now they're looking for me. There's John and Anthony, the other guy's Anthony, and actually, his father was a friend with that family, and he wound up disappearing, and his brother winds up killing a couple of guys that did it and goes away for 38 years. So he is not comfortable around them either for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go back now to the neighborhood to guys around the Gambinos and put my tail between my legs. Well, I'm looking for help. I got a problem when I stay away for 5 years. Right.
Yeah.
So what I do is I go to my childhood friend that is Vicar Musso's son-in-law, and he's a friend with the Lucchese's.
I know who Vic
And
is.
if
Yep.
I don't get into the situation, what?
No, I know who Vic is.
If I don't get it, yeah, so it's his son-in-law.
Yeah.
If I don't get into this thing, I may be not even sitting here talking to you because what I don't know is they forget the Colombos, they must have looked it up and seen we were away for serious crimes, and he was too. And they never come looking for us. Because when I go to my childhood friend, I explain this, don't worry about it, if anybody reaches out and all of that. No one does. But now I'm back hanging around him.
Yeah.
And now he wants to listen, forget about those Gambinos. He says, I'm going to put you with me. And then as a result of that, now he wants to bring me to his skipper. And you know how it goes from there. And then from there, I wind up going around and more and more and more. And now they right away want to not only straighten me out, they want to straighten my friend Anthony that was around the Colombos. So they kind of both take us, and that's exactly what happens. We're not even, I think inside of a year, we're straightened out,
Oh yeah.
which is very fast.
What year was that?
And you know why? Why? Because I get straightened out in 2013.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
2013.
Mm-hmm.
And why? Like Tom is a civilian in life, and he's saying, well, why do you think it was so quick? Why? I'm going to tell you why. First of all, is you don't have who's out there,
No.
but you have two guys, one that did, I think Anthony did 8, and then he did another maybe 5, and I did 17 straight, and that's what they're looking at, is that these guys are capable guys, and hopefully they're money makers, and when we need guys, and we were relatively young, although I think I was 40, 41, and he was, or whatever I was, 42, and he was a little older than me, but we're still in that life, we're relatively young. And they, like I said, inside of a year, we're straightened out with them. And now we're part of that crew, and we're the Brooklyn faction of the
Of the
Lucchese
Lucchese.
family, and that's our crew.
Yeah, but see,
Yeah,
like you said, what they did with you, I mean, you're talking 2013. I mean, they made some guys up here too in Boston, and
Yep.
I'm not gonna talk about them or their character or whatever. You know,
Yep. Yep.
I'm not gonna do that. But I would say a lot of guys that just got made up here and around here and in the different families years ago when I got made. You know, and
Yeah. Listen, they would probably say that about us too, especially me now, but that's not true as far as, look, we we had a lot, they spoke to guys, a lot of guys knew us, they talked about us. But I do have to say, and I'm sure you're gonna agree, that as far as the captain went, the skipper, right?
mhm,
He obviously is not an old timer because I'm going to tell you how he gets into the life. He's locked up with the consigliere of the family, and he's an associate, and the guy is not feeling good in the can, and he tells him, no, 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 Joe, I'm taking you to the infirmary, and the guy didn't want to go, and he takes him to the infirmary, and the guy gets a heart attack right when he walks in the door, and they said, if he didn't take you here, you would have wind up dying. So now he saves the guy's life. And when the guy gets home, he straightens him out, and then the position opens up, and he makes him a skipper. He don't belong there, and I'm going to tell you why. Why don't he belong there? Is you're supposed to keep us around. Forget about straightening us out inside of a year. Keep us around. You know what I mean? Keep us around for 2, 3 years
yeah,
and get to know us, and and watch us, and watch the way we do things, watch the way we move. And that's really what he's supposed to do. I'm not going to argue at that point. Hey, I think you should wait a little while. You just want to straighten us out, straighten us out. But I think it's a mistake to do that without getting to, some guys are around 10, 15 years, maybe even longer, right? As associates, and then maybe they'll do something for them, but they know them. And the other mistake on my part, which I was told by guys with the Gambino, said, those are not your friends. Like, you didn't grow up like, they don't know your family. These are different guys. And that was a problem that came back to bite me later on. And that's the truth, because I didn't grow up around these guys. I don't know these guys.
yeah,
And it's very different. That when you come from the neighborhood where you're going with the crew in the neighborhood, it's very different than now going to, we were in Queens, and now I'm going with a Brooklyn faction with all guys from Brooklyn that I don't know. I don't know them.
yeah. See like what when we straightened my crew out up here, um, these guys were around me for a long time. I knew the capabilities. I knew what they were like. I knew their character. There were other
Yeah.
guys that we were going to bring in. There was some money guys, which are needed,
Yep.
But
Yep.
basically, the crew that I had around me, I knew well. Like Paulie and my cousin
That's important.
and some of the
Yeah.
other guys that we made, because I was trying to build something here. If you went out on the street today, I mean, what are you going to find? Oh, this guy did 10 years. This guy might have been a piece of shit in prison. We don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, he could be up a guy's ass. The guy likes him.
It's,
He did 10 years. Bring him home. We're going to straighten him
you
out.
want you want to hear something funny? When we do the transition, and now we have a new acting boss in there, we have a little get together, and look what I know who he was referring to. You're going to know as soon as I say what he said. He said, listen, we're not going to just straighten guys out that maybe went and was get a cup of coffee for somebody in a can or save their life. So we know who he's talking about.
Yeah.
What's he talking about? He's talking about the guy, that I'm reporting, regime.
Yeah.
And he's right in what he was saying, because he knew even he was a mistake. He knew
Yeah.
that. And that's just, it's a kind of a better old school mentality of saying, hey, I'd rather straighten out money guys and use those guys to create legit businesses with their money for us, and we could all earn, than straighten out a guy that was either pouring coffee for a guy in a can or saved the guy's life. And that's exactly who he's talking about. And it kind of, there was a lot of mistakes that were going on, but it just, in my opinion, I think a good leader is not gonna bring, just meet guys. I don't care if they did 20 years or 30 years, and just meet guys, and inside of a year, straighten them out. It's just, it's not the way that you're supposed to do things.
No, it's not.
And when people say, "Oh, well, years ago, they would have never straightened you out," you're right, because you wouldn't get straightened out inside of a year. They would wait and get to know you. Maybe, maybe a couple of years, maybe 5 years. Some guys were around 8, 10 years, 15 years.
I know a
They
guy.
were associates. And
Yeah,
yeah.
I did time with a Bonanno guy. I'm not going to say his name. Great guy. I was with him for years down in Phoenix. He told me it took him 16 years to get straightened, though. He was involved in something.
There you go. My case of
16 years. Because listen, the families were built over time. It had to be the right guys. How many button guys did they have who whacked him, who did this? They didn't make them all. They didn't make all these murderers. They didn't make all these people. They made the guys, it's like anything else, that they felt that they could control, they could earn, and they're going to respect. You just can't bring everybody in. But now, look at the neighborhoods now. Look at East Boston, the North End, Somerville, Medford. You can't dip at these neighborhoods no more and get these kids to come up. They don't want to do it. They don't want to be involved in it.
Bobby, they would
Nobody
ask
around no
me
more.
every so often. I would get asked, "You have anybody in mind that they were looking to straighten guys out?" No. My answer was no, and not because I didn't want to help nobody, because I legitimately, there was nobody who I could say, "I think this guy's made for this." Nobody. And that's, I'm talking young guys and everything. We were around a lot of, guys and met guys. I couldn't think of one.
If I went by the standards that I grew up with, I mean, I loved all my guys, then I still do. I don't talk with them no more, or my family. I still love them. I would still do anything for those guys. And they, at that time would do anything for me. But like I said, I knew them. They were with me every day. We knew each other's habits. I knew what type of guys they were. I knew what they were going to do, what they weren't going to do. And today, just to dip into this little pool that's out here, because a guy did 10 years, or he might have shot a guy, or he carries a gun. You can't, this is not how you build a family. No. It's not how you build a regime. No. It's just not working out no more. And this is why, now look at Anthony Aralotta.
Yep.
Okay, with Adi and this creep John, and I did time with John. I know John.
I know about that.
That Adi's sending this guy, not even a May guy, an old informant in New York, and he's sending him down to Springfield over here, Massachusetts, to Anthony, to whack people, to collect envelopes, whatever they were doing.
And was told about this guy.
And Adi was told about this guy. I mean, what's happening to the mob here? Listen, there's a lot of sharp guys out there. I'm not saying they're all like Adi.
Oh.
But how did this happen? And I'm with John, and I see the Gavone this guy is. He's probably dead by now.
Yeah, I think he passed away.
Yeah. How did this even happen? He's telling me stories about my friend Anthony, about Carmen and all these other guys in Boston. How did this guy even sit down and have dinner with them?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, they kind of like, it's like, it's a spy in camp. They threw a guy in the mix, and and he's being sent down there, right, to Anthony. And what's Anthony's just doing what he's doing, and they're sending him this guy, and he's dealing with him, and you're sending him the enemy at that point. You know what I mean? He's already done, right? It's the guy was obviously, they were warned. The whole crazy thing is that they were warned. And,
they were.
You know what I mean? Like
the Gambinos warned them.
Yeah, and they were warned, and it's just and there's either this, it's either about money, or there's something behind it. Why if you're warned about something, usually it's money, right? Usually, you put a dollar, and somebody's saying the guy's no good. What weighs heavier? The money outweighs the bad things they're saying about him. And the guy was thinking, don't listen to them. They don't like him. That's what they do, because the money means everything.
Well, a lot of things. I was exposed with money on the street. Even the guys that don't like me, they would tell you that. And it was never really greed with me. Like I said before, it was more power and ego, I think, that drove me. rather than the money.
Yeah.
But the money was great when it came in, don't get me wrong.
Oh,
You know, but now this isn't a money business. The mob, yeah, we make money. That's part of what we do. But the internal workings of the family is not about money. It's about structure.
yes.
Remember, when this started, the mafia back in Italy, it was to protect the people.
Yeah.
From the Turks, the French, whoever else came in there. It was an organization to protect the people, like the IRA was, what they were trying to do in England.
Mhm.
That turned corrupt. I mean, that's what happened to it. Now you got this group of guys. What are we going to do now? You know, and it turned corrupt like anything else does. That's last years and hundreds of years like that. You know,
So,
but it was still structured, John. There was something there. You know,
yeah, I mean,
it
you,
meant
you
something at
know,
one time.
you know, one thing, and this is obviously has to do with my story, is the rules were put in place, and there's a reason why there's rules, right? In anything, right? Just even in a baseball game, right? There's rules of a baseball game.
Yeah.
If you don't follow the rules, well, there's no game. You know what I
Oh.
mean? There's no game. And there's reasons for rules for everything, and especially in that life, you have rules, and and I'm saying that everybody follows every rule to the T, but I mean, there's rules in place for a reason, and so in my case, here we have this guy that he gets his position because he saves a guy's life, but he saves a consigliere's life. Now, any beefs, anything with him, who's going to win that argument? He's going to win because he's got the guy in his pocket, because the guy, he saves his life. He's the guy that gets him straightened out. He's the guy that gives him a position. So I'm in a very bad predicament with this guy, and I'm answering to him. And what happens is that the transition happens, and now he don't have that guy, and the power shifts where now I have the power, because now I have the guys that I'm close to, and I got close to, that are in these positions. And unbeknown to me at the time, his brother is also a friend, right? He's a friend. And his brother
Lucchese friend?
yes.
Yeah.
And his brother starts screwing around with the girl I'm dating. And now he's breaking our rule. And you know what the penalty for that is, right? So with knowing this and seeing the transition and knowing that now I have the upper hand, what this guy does, and I didn't know he did it. And I always say this now because I'm in a different place now, but strategically back then I mother effered him when it all came to light. But strategically, it was a very good move that he did. And what does he do? He puts so there was like a 14-15 guy pinch with the Lucchese's, and we kind of took out the administration and all of that. And he was on the case as well, and he got out on bail. And another old timer, Don Trasulo, he was on a case. He gets out. A couple of guys got out on bail. It wasn't too much violence, and he puts a wire on me that I am no good on that case. And I start to, you start to see things that are not like, what something's wrong, right? And I go to this other skipper's house, Dom Trasulo, and he's out on bail. And somebody, but before that, he comes over to me and another guy, and he says, there's two rats in this family, two friends that are rats. So I'm looking, but I didn't like the way he said it, the way he was coming over. He wasn't like coming over saying, "Hey, be careful," right?
Yeah.
You got to be alert and be on your toes. He was coming over making a statement. And I turn around and listen, I'm not in that place anymore. So I talk that way back then. I don't do it now. But so I said, well, why don't we find them and kill them? I mean, that's what that life was about, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's just the way it goes, that back then, right? So, and he, got all flustered. The other guy picked the shirt up, right? And left, kidding around. I took him outside and gave him a tongue lashing. I could have picked my shirt up too. I said, don't ever let him, this asshole,
Yeah.
Let you disrespect yourself. I said, because you see, John, I could pick my shirt up too. It's not
Yeah.
about picking the shirt up.
Right.
Don't you're getting crazy. I'm only kidding around. I said that's not a joke to me, because don't let this asshole come over like that. And then I know you're trying to play a game. It's not about picking a shirt. We can pick our shirt, take our clothes off if we want. So anyway, I go to the skipper's house, not that guy, but the old timer who I loved, and I used to sit with him for 2 hours, and hear him talk. I used to laugh and he'd tell you stories. You know how it is, right?
Yeah.
They told me to come there to say hello. And Bobby, I go and pick my younger daughter up, because I was always taking her from Staten Island to bring her back to Long Island. That was my weekend. But when I go, and you'll know what I'm talking about, when I go into this house, I see a bunch of guys crewed up in there. They don't know I'm coming with my little daughter, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also walking in there, Bobby. I don't have a dirty stomach.
Right.
If you're guilty of doing something, you might not make an excuse not to go over there to this guy's
Exactly.
house.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like that, you know what I mean? So, but I go there, and when I walk in, I'm saying, wow, I didn't know, what are all these guys doing here, right? And he don't greet me, but when I sit down, he pushes his chair all the way close to me, and I move even a little closer, because
Yeah.
I'm just innocent, and I put my hey Dom, hey, and he says to me, let me ask you a question, not hello, not kiss me hello. Hey, let me ask you a question. You know what the rats are on my case? So I laughed, and I Dom, how, like, in other words, like, Dom, how you feeling? He's got oxygen and everything else. He was just on a bail. I said, Dom, how you feeling? Like, first, let's how you feeling, right? Yeah, I'm all right. Anyway, and he goes into that again. And so I laugh. I said, Dom, I got to tell you the truth. I know you got pinched. I heard it on the news or whatever it is. I don't even know what your charges are, let alone who the rats are in your case. What are you asking me for? And I'm innocently telling him that, because that's the truth. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, now he makes small talk and all of that, right? Well, anyway, I leave my daughter, and I never think anything bad. I don't think this is only after what I find out later. Thinking back, I'm saying to myself, what were they going to do if I don't come? Like, I come in there without my daughter, maybe I don't leave that house. Maybe they shoot me in my
That's
head.
possible.
You know what I mean? And the worst part is what comes out in the end. So from there, I just feel like something's wrong, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I just say, like, maybe, he's an old timer. He was up there, maybe like 80 or 81. Maybe he's losing his mind a little bit. He got oxygen. He asking me about the rats in his case. I don't know. I laughed it off.
Yeah.
His wife winds up passing away. I go to the wake. Now, you've been to wakes, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, these wakes are not only we're going to show respect to who it's for, we're meeting, we're gathering, we're doing business, we're talking about business. There's other guys from other crew, a whole, the God is there, some other guys from other families there, and you get to see people and meet people, but everybody is always very friendly and respectful.
Yeah.
And plus, this is all our people. I walk into this wake, Bobby, like I had the plague. And I'm saying, what the fuck is, and I'm trying to think in my head, did I say something and maybe somebody took it as a disrespect? What the hell could I have done? I can't even figure out, like, why are they acting? Guys are saying hello, walking away from me and treating me like I got the plague.
Yeah.
And now I'm saying something's wrong, but I don't, once again, if your stomach is dirty, what are you going to say? Oh my God, they know they so we're onto something. Let me get the nothing. I don't know what it is, but I'm trying to, like, say, did I maybe say something to somebody and they took it the wrong way, or maybe forgot to say hello to somebody? Like, I don't know what it is, but I know something's wrong. I leave that wake, and the agents get a surveillance picture of me. I'm going to show it to you. And the agents get a surveillance picture of me, and you could, how to say, a picture tells 1,000 words. You could see that my face, as I'm leaving that wake, that my head's down and my mind is going, like, I cannot figure out. And I feel horrible because, if I did something, and I'll tell you, if I did something, then I should have been in the street, laying in the street. You know, that's the way the shit should leave me. That's the way the life was. But I couldn't understand what it was. So I now on myself right away. I go right away, get a pistol, and now I'm walking around on high alert because something's not right, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I go to one of the closest guys that I got very close to that kind of was like jockeying for positions with me because don't forget we were transitioning and I no not to brag but I definitely would outshine him
Yeah.
and his own crew would like favored me. He would remind me on a daily basis, you know, he's with me, yeah, you don't have to keep telling me that. I know who they're with. His own guys loved me because I treated them as equals. Like he
Right.
looked down at them, which, you know, some guys do. I treated them as equals, right? I go to him and I said, something's going on. And I got the pistol. I said, something's going on. I'm telling you. Whoa, why what are you crazy? I said, no. I'm telling you. I said, I'm going to tell you what. His name's Patty. I said, we met in like a bar restaurant. I says, I'm going to stay here. And I'm going to put my head on this table. You go make calls. Let them go anywhere because something's not right. Let them go reach out to anywhere in New York, Jersey, wherever they got to go, and let somebody come back here and say something about me or something that I did or anything. Blow my brains out at this table. That's what this is COSA NOSTRA. Blow my brains out here.
Yeah.
There's something that I did, or somebody has something to say about me. And if they do, they should bring it to me, right?
Right.
What are you crazy talking like that? It's nothing. It's not. Well, there is something going on. And he tried to say there's nothing going on. And I knew there's something going on. So I said to him, which is understandable, I said, I'm going to tell you something, Patty. From this day on, tell nobody, don't even approach me to say hello to me because I'm going to light them up because I know something's going on.
Yeah.
You know, I knew something. Now I'm thinking back about, wait a minute. I walked into this guy's house to go say, I was told to go there, go say hello, you know, see how he's feeling. And there's a crew of guys there waiting there. You know, what if I didn't bring my daughter? So now I'm starting to, you know, something. So now what I do is I go home and I was always, they call it paranoid. I call it being smart. I always did like kind of counter surveillance. I would go drive around my house. I'm looking for the agents, right? I'm looking for them laying on me. And I went driving around. I don't see nothing. So I'm going to pull in my driveway. And I said, you know what? Let me go take a ride down the block. I want to just see what's going on that end. And I see a car not aligned right, you know, like a little sticking out. Sure enough. Now, guys have made comments and said, oh, this guy, that was probably the FBI. He got paranoid. Well, I'm going to tell you. So the driver has a baseball hat on and he turns his head, which is good. But the passenger takes the hat and puts it over his face. To me, that means I know you. I don't know the FBI agent. The FBI agents look the other way.
Yeah.
If I approach them, you know, they're not going to say who they are.
Yeah.
I drive past them and I'm going to make a U-turn and now I'm going to drive past them. Now I'm going to shoot into their car because I know they're not agents. I know they're not cops. They're not organized crime task force. No way, right? One of the neighbors with his daughter goes walking. This is in the daytime. Was walking right past there, and I'm saying, I can't do it because God forbid, you know, I'm not doing that, right?
Yeah.
They pull out. I have like an 80 mile an hour because they pulled out, made a U-turn, and I spun around again. And now I'm chasing them through Levittown, Long Island. And I had asked this Gary Jenkins, who was an organized crime guy, organized crime task force. I've asked agents. They said, we identify ourselves. We're never going to let you do all of that.
Right.
You start throwing shots at us. We're going to identify ourselves at that time, right?
Yep.
It's true. In Italian, my lamp just fell. My right? You know that. It just fell.
I see. I can see the shadow.
All right? That's why I'm saying that. That's what we say is true in Italian, right?
Oh,
So now I'm going crazy because now I got them laying on my house, right?
Yeah.
I had one more incident happen. I almost killed a UPS guy. he came down my alley by at the walkway by my house, and I had one of those motion lights, and it was a little slow.
Yeah.
Bobby, I seen the shadow. I got the pistol and everything, and the light comes on, and he goes to look at that little pad. They scan the thing, and I put the pistol. And by the time he looks up, I see he's got the uniform on, and on my heart, boom, 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 boom. He don't even know what was going to happen to him. And who are you looking for? Oh, that's in the front, not by me back here. You got the wrong house over here. And who walks up behind them is my son. Now my son's all my son. And I come in the house. Now he sees me with the pistol. What are you doing? And I can't explain so much to him, but I explain enough where he, forget the kid lost me for 17 years of his life. He said, please, Dad, you gotta leave here. You're gonna kill somebody's gonna kill you. You gotta leave. But I go to one more meeting with this guy. Actually, I have two meetings. I go to this Patty again, the one I said put my head on the table and go call around. And I said to him, I want a meeting with this other guy, the skipper, who I think is his nephew in the car. Right? I think I know who's in the car. And I tell him, look, I'm telling you, Patty, I don't know nobody approach me, and that's it. That's right. I'm carrying a pistol, and that's it. And I'm going to hurt somebody because I'm going to take it like they hurt me. He turns around. Don't forget, I'm closest to him. And he makes a statement. I don't correct him, but it's a bad statement. He says, I know. I told them that they got to use shotguns on you. So that meant you had a conversation of how to kill me. And said, he's walking around strapped up, this kid.
Yeah.
You got to use shotguns.
You got to go heavy. Yeah.
You're one of my closest friends.
Wow.
So he don't realize what he tells me, but I don't say nothing. I just looked and I said, I can't believe what he just told me that. Then I go meet the skipper, who I think is his nephew, right? And you're gonna agree with this. So I meet him. He sets up the place to meet, and it's his place. And it's like a lounge. So I get there early because I want to clock and go around and clock the place and see what's going on. And it's all got tinted windows. And I'm saying, I ain't going to this place. Right. But I'm there early. And then I said, let me go take a ride in the back, because you were able to go around the block and pull in through the back entrances. Right.
Yeah.
And I see a bunch of cars by one back door, and I count the stores. I go around the block and I count. Sure enough, it's that place where the cars are in the back. So I said, forget it. I'm going to leave and tell him I got like a flat tire. I can't make it. His name was Joe. I go to turn around. Hey, buddy, you got here early. He pulls up. Mercedes pulls up. He pulls up. So I said, yeah. Now my jacket's hanging down on one side, right? I got the pistol. I don't care. I got a leather jacket. My jacket's hanging down on this side, hanging all the way down. So he's getting out of the car, and I'm going to tell him, if he says, hey, let's go in this place, I'm going to say, you know what? I'd rather go for a walk, right? Because I didn't want to go in there. And there's a cafe next door. He says, come on, let's go get a little espresso. All right. So I feel a little better. We're going in there. There's a girl behind the counter. It's a wide open spot. And we're sitting there. And now he don't greet me. Now, you know that. He doesn't greet me hello, right? So we sit down. He's staring at my jacket when I'm, he's watching me. He knows I got a pistol on me. Now, as you are a former friend in that life, right? You had a position in the life. You tell me. I tell him, I said, Joe, I'm going to tell you something. This is what happened over here. I think it's your nephew. And this is why I think it's your nephew. And if I catch your nephew on my block, I'm going to leave your nephew on my block. Now, what he's supposed to say as a brother in that life, he's supposed to say, I'll tell you what, if I hear my nephew's on your block, I'm going to leave him there too, right?
Yeah.
You know what he tells me? Now, don't forget who I am. I'm a friend, and I'm also with this Bagada, and he's Capo Regime with another crew, but we're the same. We're brothers, right?
Yeah.
He says, well, that's not going to go good for you. And that's when I knew you're no longer looking at me as a friend anymore, because you are not supposed to say that about a civilian sitting on a friend's house, whether it's your son, your nephew, or whoever it is. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, right?
No, you're 100% right.
So I know my problem is bigger than I even think it is, because I still don't know what it is. And so what happens is that I leave, I listen to my son, and I pack up. I tell him, you put the stuff in storage. And my mother didn't believe. My mother thought I was paranoid. believe it or not, she admitted it later until I left. I started headed to Georgia. I went to Savannah, Georgia, because
Yeah.
what wise guy goes over there, right? So the next day, my mother calls me up crying. You know why? She says, there were cars coming by, guys in cars,
They're looking for you.
because they were still looking for me. She said, I seen them. They came in a truck, and other two guys in the car. She seen him. And she was crying, saying, I doubted you. I go there. Now I start getting the message. Now I stood down there about 2 months, right?
Yeah.
And now they're trying to reach out for me and all of that. And now I get the frantic messages because during that time frame, Bobby, what do these guys on the case, what do their lawyers start getting? Discovery.
Right.
I'm not in the discovery.
Coverage.
I have to be in the discovery. I'm
Yeah.
not in the discovery.
Yep.
And the reason is that he puts my name out there because he wants to save his brother, because the power shifted and his brother's going to get clipped. Right.
Yeah.
So he saves his brother. But the problem is I'm not on the discovery. Here's where they make me wrong. All right. So now in that life, when they call for you, you have to come. Right.
Right.
I'm refusing to come now because I'm saying you disrespected me. You sent people to my house.
Right.
And in that life, not now, but in that life, my mind frame was I should wake up, pick up the paper and see my skipper splattered all over the street for putting the wire out on me
Yeah.
because
You're right.
fault.
Yeah.
That's COSA Nostra, right?
Yeah.
That's the way that life is. And I've said it, I'll say it again. If Carlo Gambino's time, when he was the boss and he was alive and he had that Pagada, his own Pagada, if one of his guys put a false rumor, a wire without paperwork, and there was nothing there, and then they get discovery and that guy's name isn't there, what happens to the guys?
Carlo would have clipped him.
There
Yeah.
you go.
In a minute.
And that was my reasoning for not coming in.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't go to the government. I didn't go. So now I go to another state, try and make it. I can't make it there. I got to come back. When I come back, I send a message. I don't go around to the government. I send a message to the acting boss. Said, listen, I know you've been calling for me. I'm not coming in. I know there's no walking away. I'm not coming in. And this mistake is not my mistake. This is your mistake. This is your mistake, not my mistake. No, nobody got to worry about me. I hope you never see the inside of a prison cell. I hope you make millions of dollars. Leave me alone. I'm going on my own. Leave me alone. I know there's no, and I know that I understand the rules, right? But that's my message.
Yeah.
He sends a message back, basically saying we could have had you. We know you were working in the city. I thought you first of all, you were wrong. You know what you're supposed to do? Shelf me. You save face. You know you're wrong. I'm done. I'm never going to trust you again, right?
Yeah.
Shelf me.
Yeah.
No. What do? They tell me, yeah, don't worry about it. Go about your life and hunt me down like a dog for 8 months. But I don't go when they start hunting me and I start chasing guys with a pistol, their own guys, and chasing them all the way, right? Because one of the mistakes that they made was this guy, Patty, when I had to tell him, Patty, I had to chase a car. Well, we didn't do it. But then in the conversation, what does he ask me? What kind of car was it? What do you care if it was a big green bus, right? You didn't send it. You didn't send the car. And I tell him it was a Nissan, a black Nissan, and had a sticker on the back. Do you know why he's asking me what kind of car it is? Because not only did they send it, but the idiots that they sent never told them he chased us with a pistol. They probably said we couldn't see him. We didn't see him. They don't want to embarrass themselves. So now they know, hey, he told us he chased, and he tells us what kind of car you were driving, so it was used, and he definitely chased. That's why. That's why they asked that. So I don't go. I try to. So now I'm moving. Don't forget what it costs to move out of state, come back. Now I'm getting an apartment. Now I'll have to move out of that apartment because they tracked me to that apartment. Now I have to go move to another apartment. I don't go to the law. I don't. People say, you wasn't. I like Vlad on a thing, because I couldn't tell really this whole story, but pieces of. Oh, you were no gangster. You were no tough guy. Really, what did I do? I went and armed myself, got a pistol by myself, and was chasing the guys that the mob sent to me away, chasing them in the street.
Lad said this to you?
I chased them. What?
Lad said that?
No, not Vlad, the viewers, you know, that
Oh,
kind
the
of.
viewers, oh,
Yeah, you know,
forget them.
oh, you wasn't no
I was
tough guy,
gonna
you
say
wasn't no
Vlad.
gangster, you wasn't that, but the bottom line was, I didn't go to the government 8 months.
Yeah.
And then, and you know the story, and then after I just, how many times am I gonna move? And those, you know how much money it keeps cost to move, and I'm under my
Oh,
name.
I know.
And at that point, somebody else came to me, a cousin of mine, and I didn't listen to him. And then my son comes to me because I'm literally walking with my little daughter, not as a shield, to pick her up high so that anybody, God forbid's laying around, sees that I got a kid with me,
Yeah.
they throw a shot, and this is getting crazy. And and not only they're sending gangs, they're sending bloods. I'm in a pearly white neighborhood. There's a guy with dreadlocks and a red. I'm saying I can't even believe it. I'm chasing these guys. It's insanity what's happening at my job in Manhattan, on down 7th Avenue. I'm chasing 5, 6 black eyed bloods in the street that they sent.
Imagine. We have to keep we're gonna have to come back and talk more about this because I think the story's fascinating.
Yeah,
Right, Paulie? I mean, huh?
Incredible.
Yes.
Wow, what a show this is gonna be. This is
Yeah.
great. When can we do the show again, my friend?
Well, for me, for you, I'm available.
Yeah, I know. I want to pick this up right away. I want to finish because I know they're gonna want to hear all of this.
So many similar stories too.
Yeah, I'll tell you, what a story. This is the best one so far.
Yeah. A
By
lot of
far.
similar stories too.
And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in today. I mean, this show was awesome. And please, John, you got to come back.
Yeah, anytime.
I got to hear the rest of this story because you got
Oh,
me.
it's good because we left a little cliffhanger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you had left me at the edge of my seat, and Nicole and Paulie are here, but they want to hear the rest of it too.
Oh my God, the girls, the women stay.
Nicole's
Oh
still
my God.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry that you had to hear all this.
No,
No,
don't be.
no.
Honestly,
She's around me. What are you doing?
I'm not easily impressed. I'm impressed by you. I can't wait to hear the next part.
Oh my God.
That's awesome. All right, my brother, thank you so much for coming on. And I'm going to put this up right away as soon as I can. And hopefully we can come back and do this again next week.
Anytime. Yeah, anytime.
All right. Thank you so much, Sean, for coming on, brother.
All right.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thanks, Sean.
All
Thank
right.
you, brother.